Welcome back. If you're just joining us, where the heck have you been? This is SportsLine. I'm John Burton. That's Justin Bradford from Penalty Box Radio, author of the book, Nashville Predators, The Making of Smashville. We've been talking all things All-Star Game, Nashville Predators, and big weekend, of course, this weekend with the All-Star Game coming to town. The game Sunday afternoon at Bridgestone Arena, but between now and then, plenty of stuff going on. Outdoor concerts, right? We've got the interactive stuff for the fans. Let's put this down here for a second. We have a graphic that displays your wonderful book. Anyway, so there's a lot going on. So if you're in and around downtown this weekend, you definitely want to check it out. All right, the All-Star Game normally marks the halfway point of the regular season, and you know, the NHL season is such a war of attrition. It is such a great 82 games, and I mean, they're all physical. Maybe some not as physical as others. We've seen the Predators struggle a little bit. The first part of the month was not very good at all. You know, their last road trip was not very good at all. I believe they were, 0-3-1? Something like that.
Yes.
Now they're 3-0 on their current road trip. Pending tonight's game at Calgary, they seem to have picked up their play a little bit. Pekka Rinne is playing a lot better in goal. How do you forecast the second half of the Predators season? I mean, can you? I know that's a loaded question. but do you see a scenario where they could miss the playoffs after how so well they played last year?
No, I do not.
Yeah,
From the beginning of the season, I always said they'd be a wild card team, and it's nothing against them. It's because of the division they play in. I figured they would fall back a little bit just because they're still working through a lot of kinks. They had a really great first half of the season last year, and then we saw them all fall and stumble into the playoffs, and then actually played Chicago fairly well in that first round, almost taking them out aside from a few little bounces. But I do see them finally getting their groove back together in the second half. They might have dug themselves a little bit too much of a hole to get in that top three. I do see them sliding in as a wild card spot, hopefully that number one wild card spot, so they're not matched up with either Chicago or Dallas.
Right.
But I do see them making the playoffs. It's one of those things, they're built to be a playoff team, and as the rumors continue to go, the trade winds fly, I don't think David Poile's done making moves either, because he sees that this is the window right now with Pekka Rinne where he's at, with Shea Weber where he's at, because Shea Weber's already in his 30s, which, as we all know in the sports world, you're getting old.
Absolutely.
when you get into your 30s. So
yeah, Mike Fisher, I believe, is north of 30.
North of 30, yes, and Mike Ribeiro. So there's a window of opportunity here, I think, for the next 2 seasons, 3 seasons max, to get that cup here in Nashville before some rebuilding has to go on, some retooling. And so I think Poile's going to make another move to bring in a top 9 winger, if anything else, to try to really help that offense get going. Because they have offense now with Ryan Johansson, 9 points in 9 games. He's really helped that power play click. He's adding what they needed. So good trade right there so far. It's so tough to decide who's the winner of a trade, but that's what they needed.
Right.
But that's what I forecast seeing is a wild card spot right there. But the offense finally starts clicking a little bit, and such is the way of Pekka Rinne is the way that this team will go. So as long as he's strong in net, this team will be okay.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that trade. I mean, you hate to see a guy like Seth Jones go. He's a great kid. I think he's got a bright future in the NHL. The Predators were shocked that he was available on draft day. They had to take him. But, I mean, they're loaded with solid young defensemen on this team. And Poile said it after the trade was made. This is the first-line center we've been waiting for since this franchise was born. And, you know, you're talking to a guy that covered the Penguins for so many years. I mean, it was just an embarrassment of riches at the center position with Crosby on the 1, Malkin on the 2, and for a while Jordan Staal on the 3. That's pretty good first 3 lines rolling at you. And I've always said if the Predators can find that one stud center, that do-everything center, with the defenseman they have and the goaltender they have, they could make some noise. And Johansson, only 23 years old, and he's a point-a-game guy. He's only going to get better.
He really is, and that's the problem with Nashville, is that they haven't been bad enough to always get top picks. And so they've either been really good or just above the middle part of the spectrum, to where the one time they actually were bad enough in the season before to get a top 5 pick. All the other teams went a different way in terms of what they're picking.
And Seth Jones
drops her when everyone thought that Colorado would pick him. Oh, of course, Florida's going to get him, or Tampa Bay's going to get him, and he falls, because I think most Predators fans and people alike were waiting for Sasha Barkov.
That was the year that they were going to get their stud.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, their stud forward. What are some of the other areas of the game that the Predators need to pick up. Obviously, they've always been solid in defense, and they've got good offensive defensemen, guys that can join the rush and create some pressure in the offensive zone as well. What are some other areas this team needs to pick up to really win more consistently and solidify that playoff spot?
Everybody always talks about what's missing right now is what we saw disappear a year and a half ago, and that's Patrick Hornquist. And that's that style of getting to the net, sacrificing your body, playing a little dirty in front of the goal, but that's what you do. You cheat a little bit, to try to make things happen. You just hope you don't get caught, and sometimes you do.
Right.
But that's just the way it is in sports. You push that line until you get caught, and then you bring it back a little bit. But that's what they've been missing is that rugged style in front of the net. And it's I'm not saying grit, because Predators have always had enough bottom six. They need that top big forward, top six forward that's going to crash the net, create opportunities, second chance garbage goals. That's how you score in the NHL. Goalies are too good, and even if you increase the size of the net, they're going to find a different way. It's finding that type of player. Another thing they really need to focus on now is with Pekka Rinne getting older, is who's going to replace him. Carter Hutton's not that style of goalie to be a workhorse and play 65 games. I think he's a viable backup, and he's shown that this season, but now the focus goes on to Jussi Saros, if he's going to be able to make it. And he had his one game in Nashville, but is he going to be able to supplant Pekka Rinne in 2 to 3 years? That's what I think the focus is going to be on now, because once Rinne is done, that's who Nashville is goaltending and defense.
Right.
You miss one, then you have to worry on your forwards. Are they going to be able to give enough in terms of offense to make up for the loss of Rinne in 4 years?
Yeah. Peter Laviolette, a guy that's had a lot of success, won a Stanley Cup, led the Carolina Hurricanes to the Stanley Cup, got to the Cup Finals with the Philadelphia Flyers, but he's had a reputation of being a guy that he comes in there and he changes things, and he changes for the better, but after a while, he tends to wear out his welcome. With the Preds, I don't want to say struggling, but maybe not as dominant as they were a year ago. If I'm a Preds fan, should I worry about that? Should I worry about the players eventually starting to tune Lavi out?
I really don't think so, and I think that is because of who he surrounded himself with. Phil Housley has done wonders for the blue line in terms of helping them to activate and join the offense, but be still responsible for what they're supposed to be doing on the back end. So having a coach like that who will be a head coach someday, Phil Housley, who's won a World Junior Championship with Team USA, he's done so many great things for the defense. Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So he's a great coach, and I think he's great with the players too, just because he has a type of relationship with these guys too. I don't think we're at that stage anywhere near that yet.
Okay.
It could be a year or two if you start seeing the same things pop up. But overall, what I've seen from Laviolette is way different from in the past, and I think it's because the pressure being in Nashville is nowhere near what it's like in those different markets where they want instant gratification and not able to build something, because what we've seen so far in Laviolette's career, that it takes some time to build, but once he does, you have a really good team, and when you have good vets and good young forwards there, which we've seen with some successful teams nowadays, you're getting there now. You're getting there with the Predators, and so you got to give a coach time to build. It's one of the problems in sports, I think, nowadays is you want instant gratification. Whether it's in college, you can't just fire a coach after a year because they haven't had time to recruit, they haven't had time to do this, and same thing with hockey. You have to have time to have a coach's input on what a GM does in the draft, who they sign in the offseason, things like that, of what he thinks is going to work best in his system. Give it time, and I think it's going to be okay, because Nashville's not that kind of city that wants to always fire their coaches quickly. Granted, it's changed a little bit, but especially in the hockey world.
You haven't talked to too many Titans fans lately, obviously.
No. Just in hockey.
Okay. A little over a minute left in this segment. We're talking with Justin Bradford. If I'm going to the All-Star game this weekend, give me an All-Star player from either division, either conference that maybe a lot of people aren't talking about, but if you're a fan, you want to keep your eye on.
Dylan Larkin.
Yeah?
Dylan Larkin from the Detroit Red Wings.
Okay.
He played with the U.S. development team program up in Michigan. He's from Michigan. He's a Red Wing. He played for University of Michigan. And that's not why I'm saying that. It's because he is so dynamic and such a smart player. If you go back and just Google highlights from Dylan Larkin, what he's able to do to goalies to undress them is ridiculous. And he's a kid. He's a rookie. So he's the dark horse candidate, I think, for the Calder. You have, obviously, Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid when he gets back in healthy. But Dylan Larkin is an explosive player, and especially for a Red Wings roster that is aging with Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg.
Yeah.
He's that guy. He's the new face of that franchise, and he is explosive. I know he's signing autographs here. If you can get an autograph of Dylan Larkin, it's going to be worth something someday, because the kid he's phenomenal to watch. He's exciting to watch too. So that's the one player that I would pick to watch.
It's amazing how the Detroit Red Wings just keeps cranking out those good players, man, year after year after year. All right, we're going to come back and finish up with our buddy Justin Bradford. Stay with us here on SportsLine.